called the temple in man. I have a, I have a lot of respect for R.A. Schwaller de Lubitz. I have a lot of respect for John Anthony West, but they just don't get it. But that's all right, because we do. So I don't need them to explain to me what I already know to be true. Please, brother.
With some authors, specifically the two you just named.
Yes.
Sometimes I can't tell, because I've read a lot of their stuff. Sometimes I can't tell if they just aren't sharp and some of their scholarship needs to be tightened up, or if they're very sharp and they're trying to put out the shaky scholarship to lead people down the wrong direction. So I'm just saying, like, sometimes I can't tell whether the person just doesn't know better or they're trying to specifically lead us astray in some of their material.
Well, I believe that both Schwaller de Lubitz and John Anthony West both know that if they ever told the truth, they wouldn't sell a book.
I think they hint. I think they do a good job.
I think West tries his best to put a lot of stuff in there.
Well, West is a student of Schwaller de Lubitz. But if I can just ask you, my sister, who went to John Anthony West's presentation, and I believe you asked him, or somebody asked him that question about the Africanness. What did he say?
Oh, he said that.
But besides the fact that he didn't want to go into that.
No, he said something very un-African. I forgot exactly the words that he used, but it was very un-African.
Yes. Well, that's good to know, because it does answer what you're saying.
Yes.
The bottom line is this: from my readings of John Anthony West, from Serpent in the Sky, I believe that the ancestors are forcing him to say things, but he's not claiming where they came from.
Got you.
I don't need him to say it was African. I already know that.
Yeah.
So I don't need his verification of something that I have already verified, along with some of the greatest minds that have walked this planet. So that...
excuse me, brother, but you have to understand also, his followers are mostly white folks.
Yes, yes, exactly.
You know, when I went to that presentation, there was only 5 people of African descent, and 3 of them were connected with brother and friendship, including me. The 3 of us. After that, there's 2 other people. One of them, there were 2 other people. One of them was doing volunteer work, and the other 2 were from somewhere else. And I would like to see white folks sitting there talking about Kemet. They know a lot about it. And I can say that's not because I didn't know what they were saying. I know the same thing from what I'm leadership. So I was shocked to see that, that the public was mostly.
But you see, there's something that we know that goes beyond all conceptual concepts, and that is that if you really knew, you'd be afraid not to tell the truth.
But he knows the truth, though.
But he is tangled in his ignorance. Joel Augustus Rogers said that the most brilliant scientists become absolute fools when it comes to race. And I see John Anthony West that way. I see Schwaller de Lubitz. I see the legacy of Kemet. If you're not going to deal with the realities of it, I don't care about your racial persuasions, I don't care about your cultural affinities. If you're not going to tell the truth when someone asks you a question as to were these peoples of dark complexion, curly haired, wide-nosed background, and if you're going to play a game, you don't know the truth. You're playing with it, but you don't know it. And for whatever reason, no blame, no accusations. It's just that the way in which things have happened, certain of us have not been placed at the feet of some of the teachers that have brought us to this level, for whatever reason. For whatever reason, it's nobody's fault. It's just our good fortune.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? The Grand Lodge of Luxor. Upon studying it a little bit closer, we see, looking at the work of Naim Akbar and Wade Nobles and others, we see that there is what's called the sevenfold soul. There is the Ka, there is the Ba, there is the Kaba, Aku, Seb, Puta, and the Atmu. Okay, this basically is how they break it up. In Nile Valley Civilizations, there's an essay, I think, by Naim Akbar. In Kemet and the African Worldview, there's an article that talks about the sevenfold soul. They call it the septenary soul. In other words, the soul manifests itself 7 times. And our ancestors developed what we call rites of passage programs to welcome every spirit in the human to come forward. When you look at the Grand Lodge of Luxor or the Ipet, you can see that those systems were built. This comes out of Charlotte de Lubit's book. That's why I say, he's got information there. We just got to know he's talking about black people. Don't depend on them to say it's black people. You know it's black people, okay? And so upon birth, newborn...
Excuse me, brother, I remember what you said. You said that no, they are not only black people in Africa.
Yes, they're not only black people in Africa.
Okay, that the pharaohs, that the pharaohs, were not only, were not purely the black people. There was no variation in the population.
Yes, yes. Interesting. Interesting. That's like saying America had multicultural presidents. Okay, because we have one now that's African American. Oh yeah, they, when they invaded, but they didn't do anything to bring the civilization. They did not bring wisdom and knowledge into Pharaonic Egypt. And the evidence of it is that, look at when the only real times that anything great happened in Kemet was when black folk took over. And nothing new was ever created after the Old Kingdom. Exactly. Everything else was only attempted replications of the greatness of an ancient people, and the Old Kingdom was built on an even more ancient kingdom. See, we have to study this for ourselves. And so that at the age of 2 to 3, there's the Ka and the Ba. See, you're born with your Ka and your Ba. When you're 2 to 3 years old, when we say this is the terrible twos, they're really the terrific twos. Because after you've been told all your life what to do, how to do, and blah, 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 all of a sudden now at this age, there's a word that comes into a child's vocabulary.
It's Europeans. No.
Say again? Yes. No, it's terrible. For Europeans, for us, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. Because the very word that we've been waiting for them to say comes out of their mouth all the time. Why? Why? You answer it, why? Well, why? Well, why? If you answer that question enough times and you get to the root why, they'll stop asking you why. If you don't address that spirit, they will ask you why for everything and don't trust you when you actually give an answer. You should have said that before. Why not? Upon 7 to 8, which is pre-reasoning, going into reasoning, you are born. Now you have the Ka, the Ba, the Kaba, and the Aku. 12 to 13, the Seb and the Ptah is born within you, and this is the rite of passage, which is reproduction. Ptah tells you, Ptah coming from Ptah, is the creator of creations. Amongst men, they now have fertile sperm, and young ladies now have fertile eggs. This is when you can physically reproduce yourself. It doesn't mean that you're mentally prepared. It just means that nature has said you can carry a child. Oh yeah, you can do all sorts you can do anything you want to with your senses. That's the beauty of melanin. And sometimes melanin does it for you whether you want to do it or not. Because melanin also is a co-pilot. It's an automatic pilot that it takes over after we start acting silly. Or the idea that when we feel such pain, have you ever felt, well, I don't know if you have, but there are people who feel such pain that they pass out? Okay, well that's your hormones inside of your body telling your body, man, we have to shut down because we can't handle this pain. Our body can't handle it, so it shuts it down. You pass out. So yeah, you can combine a lot of different things. In fact, there are some people, like if you saw, like for some of our ancestors who were being branded, when they saw that brand coming towards them, they just passed out. And they woke up after it had dried off. That's the power that you have. The human body has that kind, and it's how in control your mind is over the entire body politic. How much control do we have? And when I hear folks say, well, he made me do this, or she made, what kind of control do you have over your body? You've got to have control over your body, and to do that, you've got to have that ability to be, that entity, the netures, the collection of your netures has to be in control of what's going on. Otherwise, you're going to be tripping up. And melanin allows you the ability to perfect it so well that you can control who you, and that's what the high priests and priestesses, that was the truest sense of life on the planet, was to be able to get into control of that. How was our time, brother?
Give it up for the brother. We'll take a 5-minute break. Come back.
within one coffin and then enclosed within 2 successive shrines, which are the sarcophagi.
Thank you, brother. That's what I was talking to you about, that I was watching the other day.
Yes, yes,
And I told you that I fell asleep.
yes.
It was that.
Okay,
Thanks.
okay, you're welcome.
Yeah,
All right.
same way.
The surface of each of the 4 were covered with elaborate tableaus or pictographs or pictures. The right side of the second tableau of the right shrine contains a scene of a serpent passing rays of light into the forehead of the first of 6 human figures of King Tut. And that would be this here. Okay, that is what you're looking at when Dr. Richard King is talking about the Uraeus and the rays of light. Here, from the Irta, or from the cobra's pineal gland, rays are being sent into this first pharaoh's pineal gland. Now go back to the brain and go back to understanding what we're talking about as it relates to melanin. Melanin being activated because we are children of the sun. And that the rays of light from the consciousness of Irta, or the sun, or light and heat energy, is being passed into the front pharaoh. Okay, who is a mummy, by the way, a Sa. In front of him, you have the bird. Okay, the first pharaoh. Here, the second pharaoh, you have rays of light being passed down to the pineal gland. Here, you have rays of light being passed down to the pineal gland. But once you get to this point, there's something miraculous that starts to happen, and that there's a conversation amongst the stars. In other words, by this time, you have raised yourself up into the heavens, and you are in fact starlight. This is what melanin can do, where you activate it within. Okay, and this is King Tut's tomb. Okay, there's no way they could not have understood certain concepts of not, they may not have called it melanin, and that's not important to them, but they knew about it. They knew there was something that activated that chakra. However, what's very interesting about this concept, going back to this, which is what we have to break down in understanding, I think, concepts of our people, is that it is likely that King Tut's tomb, with its 3 successive shrines enclosed within a quartzite sarcophagus, are a symbolic metaphor for the enclosure of the spirit, soul, and mind in the physical body. Death, decay, and resurrection represent the release of this sacred trinity from its material vessel. Okay, it's the release of it. But that release can not only happen after you've died, but it can happen in life. Have you ever had out-of-body experiences? Okay, or have you ever had experiences that are unexpected?